behind the outer form of everything. He urges us to make the transformation from being preoccupied with form and instead to be aware of meaning. This realm of being beyond the outer forms. Here he says, and I quote, "Know that the outward form passes away, but the world of meaning remains forever. How long will you make love with the shape of the jug? Leave aside the jug's shape. Go, seek water. Having seen the form, you're unaware of the meaning. If you're wise, pick the pearl from the sea of the shell. Surat-i zahir fana gardad bedan, عالم معنا بماند جاودان. چند بازی عشق با نقش سبو، بگذر از نقش سبو رو آب جو. صورتش دیدی ز معنا غافلی، از صدف دری گزین گر عاقلی. One aspect of this transformation is to recognize that although certainly things in this world of ours do indeed cause other things to occur, these are merely the things in this world that cause other things to occur. These are merely secondary causes. Rumi, for one, guides his readers to transform themselves. He urges us to transform ourselves, telling us, instead of being preoccupied with these secondary causes, with the apparent causes in this world, he says we should be aware at all times that underlying all of the secondary causes is God, the first cause. Whoever looks upon, he says, whoever looks upon secondary causes is for certain a form worshiper. Whoever looks upon the first cause has become a light which discerns the realm of meaning. An additional aspect of this category of reality or being or ontology deals with the cosmos after time and existence as we know it ends. And this is called eschatology. Sufis in general urge people to realize that not only will time as we know it end at the end of historical time, followed by a divine judgment in the hereafter, along with heaven and hell, but also, from a Sufi perspective, all of the events in the afterlife and leading up to the afterlife, all of this eschatology happens right now, at every moment. In other words, all of existence ends right now. Did you catch that? At each moment, it ends, and it also begins, but that's another story. This is talking about the end. Ends at each moment. A Sufi who realizes this is called the son or child of the moment, Ibn al-Waqt. Here Rumi calls Sufis to live as if they are standing before God now. As Muslims believe, we will all be standing before God in the judgment at the end of time. He calls us to live as if we are standing before God, before the final judgment at the end of time now. He says, the Sufi is the son of the moment, O friend. The condition for following the path is not to speak of the future. Sufi ibn al-Waqt bashad ey rafiq, nist farda guftan az shart-e tariq. The third major aspect of this systematic analysis, we've covered knowledge, being and reality, with its subsets of theology, the cosmos, or God, the cosmos, and the hereafter. Now we'll move to the third aspect, which concerns humanness. For Rumi, one of the most significant transformations that humans can undergo is to become aware of their primordial nature. We can become aware of our primordial nature, our essential nature, which encompasses all of the divine names and qualities. This is why, and this is what Professor Ansari referred to, Dr. Ansari referred to, when he spoke about us as being the world in miniature. This is why man is called the microcosm. We are the mirror of the cosmos, which is the macrocosm. Transformation in this anthropological sense means becoming a faqir, becoming a poor person, namely one who is impoverished in the sense of having left behind attachment to all that one thinks one is in the world. We really think we're somebody, and whatever, even a humble somebody, where we think that that's who we are, that's our attachment. To become a faqir means to leave everything, all conceptions of self. Together with this negation, this leaving behind of attachment to all one thinks one is in this world, this transformation in this, the anthropological transformation, is toward the affirmation of being aware of one standing before God and saying yes at each moment to the question that God in the Quran asked our human ancestor, "Am I not your Lord? Alastu bi rabbikum?" A couple of things here. First of all, in Islam, in Sufism, we always have negation followed by affirmation. The negation is to leave behind the attachment to all one thinks one is in this world, and the affirmation is to move toward being aware of standing before God and saying yes at each moment as God is asking us the same question. He's asking us the same question that he asked at the beginning of creation. Alastu bi rabbikum, am I not your Lord? At the end of creation, he says the same thing. Am I not your Lord? Alastu bi rabbikum. Rumi expresses this as follows. We're in this courtroom world, presided over by a judge who issues decrees for the sake of litigation between am I not your Lord and yes, which was our pre-eternal answer. For we said yes, and in our trial, our actions and words are testimony and evidence. Why do we keep silent in the court of the judge? Did we not come in the first place to bear witness? Whether in 100 years or in a moment, discharge this trust and be delivered. In other words, say yes to God's question, am I not sustaining you? Am I not your Lord sustainer? This is the trust that he's speaking of. But this is easier said than done, because to recognize that God is our Lord sustainer means to reaffirm continually that he is the source of all of his attributes and names that he continually displays before us, and which, because of the habit of our ego, we're continually denying. So it's easier, we can say, when God says, am I not your Lord sustainer? Yeah, we can say, yeah, but the fact is, we're continually denying this. Because he's continually displaying the ways in which he sustains us, and yet because of the habit of our ego, we continually do not lovingly embrace all of his sustaining of us with gratitude. So for this reason, Sufis are urged to pass away from their own qualities so that they can subsist through the qualities of God in accordance with the hadith. Take on the qualities of God. تَخَلَّقُوا بِأَخْلَاقِ اللَّهِ وَاتَّصِفُوا بِصِفَاتِهِ. Expressing the end point of this transformation, Rumi says, his attributes have knotted my attributes. He gives me both purity and attributes. The fourth major aspect of a systematic analysis of Rumi's understanding of transformation deals with consciousness. Two primary aspects of this psychological category can be seen, one dealing with faculties of consciousness and the other with states and stations of consciousness. As for faculties of consciousness, the Quran speaks of faculties such as the spirit, the ruh, the heart, the qalb, and the ego, or the self, the nafs. Sufis and Rumi, in particular, address the issue of spiritual transformation from a condition of being preoccupied with the physical faculties of consciousness and transforming ourselves so that we're no longer preoccupied with the physical faculties of consciousness to becoming aware of the spiritual faculties, such as the purified self at peace, the nafs mutma'innah, the heart and the spirit. Just as the function of the physical senses is to be aware of the physical world on the one hand, the function of the subtle centers of consciousness is to be conscious of God. Unfortunately, our physical centers of consciousness work so well that most people are dominated by them, while our subtle centers are asleep. Our subtle centers of consciousness are asleep in spite of the Hadith Qudsi that Sufis cite, where God says that the Prophet said, "Neither my earth nor my heavens contain me, but the heart of my believing servant contains me." Referring to this Hadith Qudsi, Rumi guides us to wake up and be aware of God through our hearts. He says, "The Prophet said that God declared, 'I'm not contained by anything above or below, on the earth and in the heavens, and on the throne too. Know for certain, my dear friend, I'm not contained. So it is amazing that I'm contained in the heart of the believer. So if you're seeking me, seek in such a heart. Goft Peygambar ke haq farmude ast, من نگنجم هیچ در بالا و پست در زمین و آسمان و عرش نیز من نگنجم این یقین دان ای عزیز در دل مؤمن بگنجم ای عجب گر مرا جویی در آن دلها طلب." In addition to faculties of consciousness, states and stations of consciousness are a significant aspect of understanding Rumi's psychology. An important point that often escapes people who study Sufism is that what the modern world calls emotions and feelings, Sufis call spiritual states and stations, ahval and maqamat. The difference is that the modernist does not grasp that all feelings and emotions are derived ultimately from God. I mean, I've been going on for now about 40 minutes almost, and so you're probably feeling very tired. But even that tiredness, and this lets me off the hook a little bit, even that tiredness that you're feeling, I'm the secondary cause of it. The primary cause is God. Even whatever you're feeling right now, if it's kind of a subtle humor on top of this weight of tiredness, all of that is derived ultimately from God. But the Sufi realizes this. Even when Sufis forget God, perhaps even falling into a deep depression, the moment they remember God, they realize, at least mentally, that God is the ultimate agent of whatever they were thinking and feeling. A common reminder of this is the phrase, "La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah." There is no power or force that is not by means of God. Most Muslims